Tonight, from tent city protests in St. John's to what the federal advocate calls a staggering failure in the north, the housing crisis is hitting hard.
It's a symbol for a desperate situation and a demand for change. Why some students dumped a toilet in front of St. John's City Hall today, I'll have that story coming up.
And for hours, police surrounded a downtown St. John's home, shut down this street for a standoff that derailed this year's Christmas parade.
It boils my blood. It feels like they don't care. They don't care about our people, like we're just set aside.
People in the north are in crisis. Inuit in the north are in crisis.
Feeling forgotten in Nain, we journey north to bring you a special feature report, living without water, without access to repairs, without options.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. Tonight, the Salvation Army wants to offer support for those camping out near a St. John's public park.
Macaroni and cheese this evening are going to be delivered to people who are sleeping rough. It's just the least that we can do when we see people who are experiencing homelessness, again to this degree, sleeping in tents here in our city. At the Salvation Army, we, along with other organizations, just want to do our part to see if we can help, and usually that's through conversations that get inspired by giving someone a meal.
The Emergency Disaster Services team is on the ground in Bannerman Park this hour. The Salvation Army has been training its volunteers and staff for this. The major says it's not a solution, but the group wants to learn how best to help those experiencing homelessness, and says a hot meal and conversation is a good place to start. They're working in partnership with the Chespenny Center of Hope, which serves upwards of 250 meals a day. University students in St. John's are pushing for better bathroom access at Bannerman Park, not for themselves, but for those living in that homeless encampment. More than a month ago, the group uprooted from the Confederation building, moving to their new location. Here Now's Henrika Wilhelm has that story.
Mayor Breen, we are here to ask you to unlock the bathrooms at Bannerman Park.
A group of social work students brought that demand to St. John's City Hall today, toilet included. What sparked the protest? No washrooms after 8 p.m. for those living in tents in nearby Bannerman Park.
The bathroom access is a city issue, and they're the ones that can make the movement, so we're hoping that they do.
It's not illegal to be homeless, but it is illegal to pee while you're homeless. So, yeah, we're here to stand up and basically try to put some pressure on the city to stand up and do the right thing.
Everyone knows housing is a human right, but few people actually know that the access to toilets on demand is a sanitation issue that's written into the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights. So we wanted to mobilize to at least get that going, and that's why we're at City Hall, because as the student said, the mayor has the key.
But Mayor Breen didn't show up, so the protesters took the matter inside with little success.
We look forward to an opportunity to speak with Mayor Breen when he's back in-house. We'll come back.
In an emailed statement to CBC News, a city spokesperson said, "This past summer, prior to the encampment, the city made the difficult decision to close restroom facilities in our parks at 8 p.m. due to increased instances of vandalism and health and safety concerns. This vandalism continues to be an issue. As such, we are not able to keep bathrooms open overnight."
The city basically keeps saying that community agencies around town are available for bathroom access 8 p.m. after 8 p.m., but we know that that's not true. For instance, the Gathering Place closes its doors at 8 p.m.
Beyond that 12-hour window, 10 protesters in Bannerman Park are left with few options.
I hold it until morning. Because, I mean, there's pedophiles around here. There's people that's stalking people. I've been stalked. People tried to do stuff to me. People tried to jump me. I've been assaulted every day for the past month until I took a stand.
And they say access to a bathroom is about more than just a physical need.
That's my safe haven. When I have to get away from everyone here and I have to think, and then 8 o'clock comes And, that's kind of time to wind down, and who doesn't like to go in the bathroom with some newspaper?
Protesters want these hours to be extended, so washrooms here in Bannerman Park are open on a 24/7 basis. But even that, they say, is only a band-aid solution because permanent housing is what's really needed. Henrike Wilhelm, CBC News, St. John's.
And still with housing, Northern Labrador's housing plight was in the spotlight during a news conference this morning in Ottawa.
It is shocking and completely unacceptable.
That's Canada's inaugural housing advocate, Marie-Josée Houle. Sitting next to her are Inuit leaders from Nunatsiavut and Nunavut. Her report into conditions in the North was released today. It outlines decades of systemic overcrowding and deplorable conditions in places like Nain and Hopedale. She says it's the result of government neglect and underfunding. Nunatsiavut President Johannes Lamp urged swift action on the recommendations in the report and says what the advocate found shocking is just reality for the people on Labrador's northern coast.
That we have a critical housing shortage of every type, overcrowding and related health consequences like tuberculosis, housing conditions that are so awful they need to be seen to be believed.
Yeah, you need to see it to believe it. And this month, CBC reporter Ariana Calland did just that during a trip to Nain. We'll bring you that special report in 25 minutes on Here and Now. In other news, police say no text alert was needed to notify the public of a standoff downtown yesterday in St. John's, a standoff that led to the annual Christmas parade being canceled for that day.
We've enacted our emergency plan. Our shuttles have stopped bringing people into downtown St. John's. The shuttles are now making their way, both shuttles, one coming from the east and one coming from the west, to Harbour Drive. There is no need for anybody to panic, but we've been asked to evacuate all of our parade people out of the downtown because we have an extra 50,000 people coming here this afternoon for this event.
The RNC asked organizers to postpone due to an armed standoff on Brazil Street, not far from the parade route. Police were concerned for spectators traveling through the area. Because there wasn't an immediate danger to the public, police say an emergency alert wasn't necessary. Multiple nearby homes were evacuated as officers spoke to the home's occupants during using a police cell phone. The RNC eventually made 3 arrests. The downtown St. John's Christmas parade has been rescheduled for next Sunday. Well, after years of repairs and inactivity, Suncor has restarted the Terra Nova FPSO. The vessel hasn't been in operation since 2019. In 2021, the company sent the Terra Nova to Spain for significant repair work meant to extend its lifespan to 2031. Then this past May, Suncor removed the platform from its 2023 plans, telling investors it needed more work before it could safely pump more offshore oil. In a news release this morning, though, the company says they brought the project back online. Well, hundreds of people gathered in Stephenville this weekend to support plans for a wind hydrogen ammonia mega project. World Energy GH2 wants to build hundreds of wind turbines and a production center in the area. The plans have generated opposition, but those at the rally say it will bring benefits to the region.
When I say green, you say support. Green! Green!
We were absolutely and are absolutely ecstatic about the turnout today. Our hope and our desire, our vision for this is that we're going to have a very large-scale industry here, starting up very soon, which is going to bring a lot of skilled labor, paid jobs, high-paying jobs for the people of this region. And I think, our rally here today has shown that we're listening, the government is listening, World Energy is listening, and what we're saying is let's work together, let's collaborate. This can be done, it can be successful, and we look forward to that.
If our children have to leave, we lose our culture. And it's very important, the fragility of our culture here in Newfoundland, as we try to rebuild, that we make sure that all stays intact as much as possible. And this project allows our children to get educated, get skills in trade, and stay at home.
Happy Monday. Heather with your weather info. Ashley, it is going to be very active over the next couple of days as this starts to sort of lick the southwest coast here now. This is going to bring a lot of rain, especially to the south coast of the island, and snow throughout Labrador. Let's take a look at the weather that is on the way. Like I just said, we're going to have some rain for the island into tomorrow, some snow for Labrador. We have a wind warning in effect, a wreck house warning in effect, a storm surge warning in effect, and a special weather statement in effect for Wednesday. So over the next 24, it's going to be wet, warm, and windy. Let's take a look at all of those watches and warnings. So if the island was up high, most of it, the crust, has a wind warning in effect. We could see southeasterlies 80 to 100 tonight. And in the wreck house area, we could see up to 130. So that storm surge also affecting the south coast here, this area in Teal, that could bring big waves during high tide tomorrow. And then we've got the special weather statement for the eastern half of the island that could bring snow on Wednesday. So much to talk about. We'll talk about it later.
Our series, The Grind, is all about people working multiple jobs to make ends meet. Tonight, the CBC's Sarah Antle introduces us to two more. Rebecca Gladney and Rafid Khan both work about 70 hours a week, and the cost of living has forced them to work additional hours just to pay the bills.
The illustrator was from Indonesia, but took like 25 pages of photos and my notes.
Rebecca Gladney doesn't have much time on her hands, but she made time for this. She wrote and self-published this children's book. It was hard, but she was working for herself. But most of her time, around 70 hours a week, she's working to pay the bills.
I generally work like 8 to 4:30 at my desk job, and then evenings I go into clinic. After my clinic hours, I generally have some work to do with volunteer commitments. And I'm a self-published children's author as well. So if I'm not volunteering, then I'm usually doing something book-related.
By day, she works for a telecommunications company. By night, she has her own massage therapy practice.
I'm so tired all of the time. I'm really lucky that I've done a lot of work. I work with a therapist to protect my mental health. I have done a lot of work to set up kind of anchor points throughout my week. So on Fridays, I spend time with my sister and her family and her kids, and that's like, I know that that's my decompress every week, if nothing else.
More and more Canadians know the hardships of working multiple jobs. People like Rafid Khan. While Gladney is heading to her second job at the clinic, Khan's in transit too. He's either going from one job to the other, or from work to school.
Monday through Thursday, I do have classes in the morning, and once I'm done with classes, I go to my work, and then I do my 7-hour shifts there. Once I'm done with my shift, I'll come back to university to revise or to study for the day, and then I usually take the last bus, which is around 11:40.
While Gladney spends her little free time writing, Khan spends it reading. Tonight he's lucky. He doesn't have a night shift, so he actually has time to study. But it's hard to make the most of that time after punching so many hours at work.
Not being able to sleep overnight, because you're so much worrying, going to bed with tears like almost every other day. You can just hear your body scream for more rest. It's just not functioning anymore, but you just can't do it. You just have to study and get the work done, because you gotta make sure you have good grades and also be able to take care of your expenses.
Look at them from across the library or clinic lobby, and Gladney and Khan look like they're having a normal day. You can't see their constant grind, but if you could see their calendar or their daily schedule, you'd see another story.
I've really come to learn to take advantage of moments, whether it's like sitting at a coffee shop reading a book quietly by myself for a half hour, an hour, or taking my dog for a long walk with a podcast on. Kind of whatever moments I can find to give back to myself that isn't working in any way.
But now it's getting late. Time to head home. Tomorrow's schedule pretty much the same as today's. But they're both working to turn the page. Sarah Antle, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, a downtown St. John's cafe may be closing for good at the end of the year. The owner of Madras Cafe says business has dropped 80% since August, when construction at the National War Memorial kicked off. The CBC's Elizabeth Whitten has that story.
At Madras Cafe's doorstep, there's an active construction site. There's a chain link fence. The road is torn up, a sidewalk is inaccessible, and a stretch of Duckworth Street is closed to traffic. It's all for the National War Memorial refurbishment project, expected to wrap in 2024. But cafe owner Balamurali Balasubramani said his business might not live that long.
We are not against it, but you can't kill existing businesses in people's life, right? We are immigrants here. We put all our life savings into this business. And to be honest, we haven't seen any profit.
In an effort to save his cafe, he's taking the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure to small claims court. He's hoping $25,000 could keep his business alive a little longer. In the meantime, to save on costs, he's cut the cafe's hours and staff.
However, this year, they started exactly when the cruise ship season and the tourist season begin, right? Our main business is from pedestrians who walk around the streets. They come grab a coffee and a bite and stuff like that.
Construction started in August, which hurt their busiest time of the year. But because of construction, patrons didn't come by his cafe. The Department of Transportation and Infrastructure declined to comment as the matter is before the courts. None of the allegations have been proven in court. Elizabeth Whitten, CBC News, St. John's.
It's a tough time for food banks across the province, and it's no different here in the College of the North Atlantic.
The first time that we implemented these in our campuses, they would last 3 to 4 days. Now, unfortunately, it's about 24 to 48 hours, like I said, that they get emptied.
We'll have that story for you coming up on Here and Now.
This is the Weather Maker on the way. Over the next day or so, it is going to bring rain and snow, warm temperatures. Break it all down after the break.
Well, Heather, it was a pretty quiet day today weather-wise, but it appears that is about to change.
That is absolutely about to change starting now in Labrador with a little bit of snow there. Rain coming our way for the southwest coast, and it'll spread to us tomorrow. But first, let's look at today's highs. Things very normal, very seasonal for the island, 2, 3, 4, 5 degrees and around, 1 to -3 for Labrador, very normal for this time of year. Taking a look at the future tracker now. We've already got some light snow in Lab West and Churchill Falls pushing up towards Nain. And then this is what we're watching for the southwest coast. That by bedtime is going to bring some rain, possibly a mix of snow at first changing over. And then in the overnight, it's going to spread south as well. Rain heavy at times, about 20 to 30 millimeters for the southwest coast in the overnight. And then as we head towards waking up, getting up tomorrow, that snow is going to push across Labrador here, as you can see, and we'll have more rain for the west and southwest coasts, spreading up into central. As we move on into the early morning or the mid-morning tomorrow, everyone will probably see a shot of something. So that's the snow that we're seeing right now, a little kind of trace amount there for Lab West and possibly the southwest coast. By tomorrow morning, like I just said, everyone will see a bit of something. And then by this time tomorrow, it looks like on the south coast, we could see as much as 40 and then, 10 to 15, maybe 20 in some other areas of the province. And temperatures are going to be warm with that as well. And it's going to be windy. So as we push towards the overnight, 100 kilometers for Port aux Basques here, 90 Stephenville, 80 Burgeo, and, 45, 50, maybe 60 some other places. And as we head in the overnight and into tomorrow, we can see, higher amounts for the south coast, getting windier here in the east as we go on into tomorrow afternoon where the winds are going to pick up. That's your 70, that's your 80 kilometers per hour. And then as this thing moves off, the winds will start to diminish on the southwest and west coast first. Taking a look at our temperatures for tonight, fairly mild tonight, 0 in Grand Falls, Windsor, as warm as 5 though in Gander, 2, 3 here in the east, a couple of degrees in St. Anthony, 1 to -1 in Happy Valley, Goose Bay, out to Cartwright, dropping back though to -3 in Nain, where you could see 5 to 10 centimeters of snow. As we wake up tomorrow, the south and west coast and northern peninsula and much of Labrador will have snow or rain, and that is going to push on east into mid-morning and then finally be with us here on the east coast, the worst of it in the afternoon, pushing off by bedtime, leaving some quieter weather on Wednesday at midnight before we possibly get some snow on Wednesday. Taking a look at these wave heights here, we could see a big storm surge for Port aux Basques area and the southwest coast of Grey River. Could see waves as much as 4 to 6 meters, and that'll be around high tide in the morning between 7 and 9 millimeters. Taking a look at tomorrow now, there's a lot to digest here. Temperatures fairly warm, 8, 9, 10 degrees. The south areas here will see the most rain, 20 to 30 millimeters, 10 to 15 for us here in the northern Avalon, and 10 to 20 for the Bonavista Peninsula. As we move a little further west, though, temperatures between 8 and 10 degrees, so warm and mild still there as well, 10 to 15 through central. You could see, again, that 20 to 30 for southern-facing areas. You're really going to see the brunt of all of this. A little bit more west, the water will start to back off a little bit, 5 to 10 millimeters for the west coast, still warm temperatures. And as we move on up to the northern peninsula, we'll see a little bit more rain and precipitation. Could be mixed with snow for Labrador, about 2 centimeters for Cartwright and Lancelot, but 10 to 20 or 5 to 10 for you folks. Moving on to the rest of Labrador now. A little quieter. We could see a flurry in Lab West, -2. Could see an accumulation of a couple of centimeters for Churchill Falls. As many as 5 tomorrow for Nain, 1 degree. And you could see a bit of a mix here and a touch warmer for Makovic. Winds not so bad in the west, but still gusting to 50 in the east. We'll take a look further afield now with your long-range forecast a little later in the show.
Well, today marks the launch of CBC's annual Feed NL campaign in support of the Community Food Sharing Association. And the Salvation Army's food bank in St. John's is just one of its many partners. It also relies on the help of workers and volunteers to keep people fed. The CBC's Arlette Lazarenko spoke with them and has this story.
At the Salvation Army Food Bank in St. John's, the demand for food, like in many other food banks, is increasing.
People are having to choose between, maybe their housing, maybe it's their vehicle, and food sometimes is the last resort.
Barrett says now more than ever, the food bank needs donation from the public and the help of volunteers.
We do this work on the backbone of some great staff as well as very great volunteers. I think to work in this field or to volunteer, you have to have a certain love, passion, and desire to try and make a difference in the lives of those that we serve every day.
Two of those volunteers are Don Langdon and his wife, Bernice.
We decided to come here because we know that there are a lot of people that need help. With housing, with food, with clothes, everything that they need. And I just consider it an extension of the hand of Christ to give back to people and to help them out.
There are as many as 80 volunteers at the center, with hopes of more to come for Christmas. From preparing the food, packaging it, and the hampers that people can take home, there's a lot of work, and the center's open just 3 days a week.
It means a lot to me to be able to just be here. And I know a lot of the clients now by name, by first name, and I know some of their stories. And, it's phenomenal.
And for the people who show up, Langdon says the food is appreciated as much as the lack of judgment.
If you treat them with respect, they treat you with respect, right? And that's all they ask, right? They've been through a rough time. A lot of these people are professional people, right? I mean, I spoke to a couple a while back. One was a firefighter, one was a paramedic. But yet they were here getting meals, going to the food bank. Things that happened, one got hurt, couldn't work anymore, and the other one lost a job, and things just pile up on these people, right? But for me, it's being able to reach out and to be there if they want to talk.
This food bank, like many others, are reporting an increased demand of their services, so the help of volunteers is more essential than ever. Arlette Lazarenko, CBC News, St. John's.
That's happening because the ports in the basement, I guess, fell and can't get them back up once the hose is jacked up.
But one of the worst places right here, I actually punched a hole in here before to let it brook right into a bucket.
There is a housing crisis in Nain, but unlike the rest of Canada,
people here say they've been living it for decades. This is a crisis.
We have to take it seriously.
I'm Mariana Kelland, and I'll have that story coming up on Here and Now.
Tonight, we take you to Labrador's north coast, where the Inuit of Nunatsiavut have lived with a housing crisis for generations. But when it comes to housing challenges, the people of Nain feel forgotten. Many live in conditions long deemed deplorable, yet nothing has changed. Now, the National Housing Advocate says it's time Canada turns its attention to the north. The CBC's Ariana Kelland has this special report.
Another day is starting in Labrador's northernmost community. Some are waking up without water or heat, others in cramped and overcrowded houses. At Kenneth Dicker's home, he wakes up under threat of his ceiling falling in on top of him.
The worst place is right here. I actually punched a hole in here before to let it brook right into a bucket.
Dicker is retired and a widower, a father and a grandfather.
I got to keep the water running right, like slow. If I don't, it's going to freeze. So then get up next morning, you want to have a shower, you got to thaw out the ice first.
A man of few words who just wants to live comfortably.
The repairs would be all right for me. I'd stay here if it was repaired.
He would, but some people in the community say he shouldn't.
These windows are really thin too, right?
Dicker was approved with the Nunatsiavut Housing Commission for repairs last fall, but it hasn't happened yet. Any other options are few and far between.
Because I was kind of thinking I might be accepted for a senior's apartment, but it's denied. Yeah. We don't hear anything about vacancy around here. It's not even mentioned already. Anything's vacant. They don't tell you.
In Nain, there is nowhere to go if you need a gallon of paint, bucket of tar, or piece of plywood. You need money and means to make repairs yourself. That's just one of the many glaring issues discovered by this country's housing advocate when she visited Dicker's home and many others last year.
When we talk about, the housing crisis across the country and who is really in crisis, I would say, people in the north are in crisis. Inuit in the north are in crisis. This is an absolute crisis because they have no choice. They have nowhere to go.
Ool was invited into Nain and Hopedale last fall. She toured the communities with representatives from the Nunatsiavut Housing Commission.
There's one house that I will never forget. There was a separation between the walls and the floor and the ceiling, and it was held together by foam insulation because everything was buckling because the house is shifting. And I'm so worried about this woman that's living there and she has no other place to go.
That woman is Nancy Sillett. She and her husband have lived and raised a family here for decades. Perched on the edge of the ocean, the house is shifting.
The ground is gone and you could see the bottom of the foundation, so there's a chunk of ground missing on that end. I guess that's why it's falling even more. Up in that corner.
Black mold grows faster than she can clean it.
I got plastic, Like I said, on every window in here except for the one in the porch and kitchen.
On this day, the problems are outside of the home. A copper pipe has burst. They have no water and don't know when it can be fixed. Nancy Sillett knows it's not safe to live here, has repeatedly been denied for repairs. Now she fears it's just too late.
It's our home.
The thing to understand about these areas is there is such a shortage of housing that people have no choice than to be where they are, and they can't double up with other people because the homes already have, 13 people living in them.
Josephine Semiak knows this all too well.
I always told them to come in here or sleep here overnight like that. Because my parents used to tell me that make them welcome or let them sleep over, or I'm trying my best to keep them comfy in here.
One of the people who Josephine keeps warm and safe is her daughter Susie. She's been couch surfing since her house burned to the ground in 2017, all while she's battling cancer.
It's very hard. Makes me cry.
It's okay. Take your time. Take your time.
But Josephine needs help too. The cost of food in Nain is some of the highest in the country. Stove oil is costly too, and her snowmobile is broken down, so getting wood isn't easy. Her home gets bitterly cold, and for years now, she hasn't had hot water.
Take the pot, make hot water out here, make it warm or make it hot, and put that one in the bathroom. Go put this in my tub so I can have a bath. Waste all the water. It's really hard sometimes to get hold of people.
Yeah, and
to
also
fix all the stuff I need.
Yeah, and to know who can help, right?
Leela Evans says the trouble with being an MHA is that she wants to fix everyone's problems. But on the north coast of Labrador, there are simply too many to fix and have been going on for too long.
A lot of people don't really realize that the communities north of Nain was forcibly resettled, was relocated down into the communities, and it created a lot of overcrowding, lack of housing, and a lot of social issues.
When it comes to housing on the North Coast, Evans says there are two main issues. One being maintenance of the homes that exist, the other, the homes that don't. Yet these Newfoundland and Labrador housing units sit vacant and have been for years, allowing what may have began as a small repair snowball into something much more costly.
You look at Newfoundland and Labrador housing, they fail to live up to their mandate, right? And who are they failing? They're failing the most vulnerable, the low-income families, the single parents, the people who are really struggling.
It boils my blood. It feels like they don't care. They don't care about our people. Like we're just set aside.
At the Nain Inuit Community Government Building, a town map shows every house in town. Anglakok or Mayor Joe Dicker and Itulak know who lives in each one and their story. Housing has always been bad, they say, but it's getting worse.
This vacant, this vacant.
We had to act like it's a crisis. We have to take it seriously. We had to do something about it now.
It seems everyone is struggling with housing, no matter a person's income or status. Even the town manager herself has faced housing challenges in the past.
We had 14 people in our 4-bedroom house, and we had to take turns like sleeping on the floor. Having 14 people's winter gear all in one small porch, like you can't move, it's very stressful.
Sounds overwhelming.
It is, yeah.
Supper's almost ready at the Martin Group home. Margie Fox takes in children whose families cannot care for them. Sometimes, Fox says, the only barrier to keeping kids with family is a suitable home, one that's safe and not overcrowded.
You hear and see the desperation that they have to try to find, they're looking themselves, trying to find anywhere in the community that are able to take them so they can stay in the community.
And if the group home is full, kids are put on a plane and sent out, all because of an ongoing housing crisis.
It's heartbreaking, I've seen it happen so many times that many young children move away and they come back when they're older and they're misplaced then. They didn't grow up in the community, they do have family members here, but they don't have that sense of belonging. And they lose their relationships, and then there become more issues, more social issues because of that.
And it's not just children shipped out of the community, but elders too. With no assisted living in town, elders in Nain often die in nursing homes in Goose Bay or elsewhere, without their language, culture, or food.
We have no housing stock to address their needs and no resources to address their needs either. So it is about, not just roofs and walls, it is about a continuum of housing spectrum that will address the needs of an entire population throughout their lives.
Construction is happening in Nain. These seniors' apartments, a well-needed addition in town. But with servicing a piece of land costing $250,000 a pop in Nain and a sewage system in need of repair, even people who can afford land and a home are stuck. More than 30 individuals or families are on a waiting list here for land, including the Jenkins family.
You can't get any land here. We're 23rd on the wait list for a plot of land.
The Jenkins did have a home, but moved away to PEI for several years before the call of home drew them back. They've lucked into a rental house.
I know this, yeah.
But even with good salaries, there are simply no homes to buy, even if vacant properties are scattered throughout town.
It's really frustrating, really, really frustrating, because when we first got here, when we first moved back, it was like, oh, this one's empty. Oh, this one's empty.
There's a number of empty lots. People don't have proper title to. Title issue is a big problem here. Like, there's a number of empty lots that people could probably build on, but they don't have the right title to it, which is something that we can't help them with because it's all in St. John's, right? Registry of Deeds.
For Joe Dicker, there are many failures, reasons why they've gotten to this point, from the province to the federal government, even, he says, the Nunatsiavut government.
Indeed, it's becoming a carbon copy of what the government is now. We're supposed to become self-government and apply our own rules. But from what I see, the government is becoming just like the other government, the provincial government.
Joe Dicker fears bureaucracy will hinder progress and lose track of the people in most need.
And a lot of people are going to fall through the cracks.
One of the key recommendations in this report is that the Fed should enable Inuit governments to assume jurisdiction over housing programs and services, starting with establishing proper funding levels.
We know what the need is. We know how to deliver the programs, but we need to be able to do it in a way that works for our programming. And I think that once we get to that stage, then we'll be in a better place to ensure that the housing needs is worked on and met in a way that's effective.
Housing on the coast of Labrador is not pretty, a thorn in an otherwise stunning view. But William says Canadians have to see it, to fix it, to right wrongs. Ool hopes people take notice.
We can't keep this hidden any longer.
Ariana Kelland, CBC News, Nain.
The Mummers are planking her down at an annual Janny Jamboree. Watch a fabulously folksy festival, Sunday at 11:30 and Monday at 7.
Well, a trip back to a Christmas past took shape in London today at 48 Doughty Street, the former home of Charles Dickens, author of A Christmas Carol.
Dickens loved to celebrate Christmas. We know from his daughter that he took a week off. He enjoyed the celebrations, the fun, the games, carving meat. He was wonderful at carving turkeys.
Today opened this year's season at the Charles Dickens Museum. In the basement is a boiler reminiscent of the one that steamed the Cratchit family's Christmas pudding. In the office, a miniature portrait of Dickens found just 6 years ago. The goal is to recreate the time Dickens lived there so visitors can come in and know him a little better. Like pretty nice spot, actually.
Did indeed. Looks very festive.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's too bad about the Christmas parade yesterday. My goodness, it was such a nice day. The weather was so nice.
The weather was just so perfect for it. It was a little overcast. It was cool, but you can dress for cool weather.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course.
Now we look ahead to the long range forecast, but we're not going to see quite to next Sunday yet.
No, we're not going to see to next Sunday yet. We're going to keep our eye on it, so it's still too early to say. But hopefully, fingers crossed, we were so ready with our Christmas tree on Friday.
My goodness, all bundled up. We were there. And
I know, I was running down the road. I was late. And then a gentleman stopped me and said, it's canceled. And I was like, oh no. Anyway. All right, let's take a look at the weather and what's ahead for the next couple of days. So Tuesday evening, you see this band of rain here across the Avalon and turning into snow up in Labrador. So Tuesday evening, all that rain we got in store and snow for Labrador, that's going to start to clear out. And as we head towards the overnight, we see, again, a little bit more clearing. So just some cloud for the island. Still a touch of snow possible through some parts of Labrador. But as we move a little closer to Wednesday, through the morning, afternoon, this is what we were talking about with that special weather statement. It could be snow. It could be rain. Not quite sure yet. The meteorologists at Environment Canada say keep an eye on the forecast for tomorrow morning. They may have a better idea of what this is going to look like. So right now, what we can say for the forecast for the eastern half of the island, including the Avalon, Bonavista Vista Peninsula, and central, even maybe the south coast, snow or rain. Looking right now like temperatures 3-4 degrees in the east, 2 throughout central, and 1 degree for the southwest and west coast, and even for the northern peninsula and in through the straits. So got a mix there in the icon right now, but again, tomorrow, hopefully have a little bit more information about that. But the forecast for Labrador looking pretty decent. -11 through Lab West with a flurry possible there. Could see a flurry in Nain there as well, which we just saw in Ariana Kelland and Katie Breen's story. And for Happy Valley Goose Bay, similar there, but just a couple of degrees cooler at -3 in Happy Valley Goose Bay. Could see a flurry. Sun and cloud for Cartwright as that system moves away from us. Thursday, looks like we will see some of that move out and some clearing in behind it Thursday, but a flurry possible for the west coast there and the Port aux Basques area between 0 and -1 for the west coast. Temperatures dropping back a little bit on Thursday from Wednesday, 0 to 1 degree in the east. You could see some sun and cloud. Maybe a chance of flurries in the east here as well for St. John's and Marystown, and a flurry is possible for Grand Falls, Windsor, and for the northern peninsula. Pretty well sun and cloud for much of eastern Labrador with your temperatures -5, -7, -8. Could see a flurry in Nain and in Lab West as well at -8. Lots of precipitation on the way over the next 5 days and similar stories for central and western Newfoundland, looking like you could see a little bit of sun though on Friday, and then into Labrador, things, flurries for the west. You could see a little bit of sun Thursday, Friday, and we'll leave you with a nice, beautiful snowy picture in the tablelands. And if you have a photo, you can send to us at NL photos at cbc.ca, like Rodney Morgan, who took this picture, did.
Oh, what a great picture, Rodney. My goodness, it almost doesn't look real.
It's nice.
Gorgeous, yeah. All right, well, that's it for us on this Monday. Thank you so much for spending part of your evening with us.
Good night.